Hi, I'm Trem, and you're listening to Trem Talk.
Me pray every time I feel can't do no different. Swear me have a win. That's why I'ma try again.
All right, guys, welcome back to your favorite podcast, Trem Talk. So, this week I wanted to touch on something that I have recently learned in the last couple of years. I'd say I've been practicing it the most in the last 12 months, I'd say, because it's become very vital. And I wanted to share it with you guys and also challenge you to think about this. So, this week we're talking about who is the voice in your head? That's the question we're going to try to answer this week. And I'll walk you through my journey in changing the voice inside my head. And this might sound like a silly concept, and I just want you to just stick with me for a bit. So, as always, I'll share my personal experience and hope that helps, heal somebody else. But sometimes when we go through various kinds of trauma, the perpetrator of that trauma inevitably becomes the voice in your head. So let's say, for instance, you were, as a kid, were told you were never going to amount to anything, everything you did was wrong. Nobody believed you when you said certain things. Your voice was not heard, and what you said didn't matter, how you felt didn't matter, or that's how you were made to feel like you were inferior. That becomes the voice in your head. Whoever that person was that was traumatizing you, that was hurting you, whether it be verbally, physically, sexually, whatever it was, that became the voice in your head. And sometimes it's not even that dramatic. I don't know if that's the right word to say because everybody's experience is valid. Um, it might not be that crazy of an experience, but you just had somebody who was overly critical of you. And so you became overly critical of yourself. And now that's the voice that's in your head. You feel like you can't do anything right. You feel like you're not worthy of better. You feel like you're not capable of, doing better and getting all the good things out of this life. And you are not deserving of grace. Therefore, you don't extend yourself grace. That is the voice that's in your head. Okay, Tremaine, I'm still trying to follow you, but I'm not sure I'm following you. How do you talk to yourself when something doesn't go right? How do you talk to yourself when you make a mistake? How do you talk to yourself when you harm somebody or you cause someone pain? How do you talk to yourself when you've just had a very difficult conversation with someone? How do you talk to yourself when someone accuses you of something? Do you internalize it and say, you know what? I am a piece of shit. I don't deserve happiness. Maybe that person's right. I will never be able to do things right. If you speak to yourself in the negative, the voice in your head is not you. So you need to change the voice in your head. How do you make that voice in your head you? Because you cannot continue on the path of letting somebody else be the voice that's inside your head. That means that your trauma or whatever you went through or whoever that person was still controls you after all this time. For me, it manifests into perfectionism. Everything needs to be perfect. I can't afford to make a mistake. I can't afford for things to not go right. And then my crazy ass chose a career where there is a very thin line. There's a very thin room for a very, very thin margin of error. Okay. You can't really mess shit up in what I do for work. And so, because people's lives are on the line, a lot of times. And so the perfectionism became crippling to me. I had to teach myself in the last year that finishing something is better than it being perfect. Is it finished to the best of my ability? Have I done my best in this situation? That is enough. I had to teach myself that I am enough and how I show up is enough. My best for the day, although it might be different from the day before, is enough. But that perfectionism morphed into crippling anxiety and me just being very negative on how I spoke to myself. Like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this sooner? Like, you said you felt tired, but you felt tired before. Girl, you've been through law school where you've been up for 48 hours before straight. Very, very little time for rest. Why can't you do that no more? Girl, because you're 35 now and you're tired. My best is enough, but I literally had to change how I talk to myself. And it's someone I respect so much that told me that. He was like, "Do you hear how you talk to yourself when something's not going right? That perfectionism, where does that come from? Like, you really have to change how you talk to yourself." And I was like, how am I going to change this? Because how I talk to myself and the voice that's inside my head of all the people that told me I wasn't going to be anything, of all the people that told me I think more of myself than what I actually am, of the people that told me I was only going to be good enough to be on my back, of the people that told me that I ruined their life by my existence, of the people that made me feel like I needed to be smaller. All those people were the voice that was in my head. And I was like, if I am to move into this new chapter of my life, I have to figure out how to change the voice in my head. And of all the things I've accomplished in this life, and I've accomplished a lot, okay, your girl doing her thing, I think this is the thing I am most proud of. That now I am the voice in my head. And I've been the great mentor to so many young women and young men. Big up my male mentees. um, I've been a choir teacher. I've been the great friend for everybody. I've been the person that you come to talk and get comfort or hear the truth, honey. But I've never been that for myself. And this year I learned to be that for myself. And I am so proud of that. I'm so proud of that. But how does she do it? Therapy. Hello? Go to therapy. When I tell you that throughout this podcast, you're going to hear me say that over and over. Everyone says you shouldn't push people to do stuff, but whatever. You need to go to therapy. Okay? We all have some crap that we are carrying around with us, and it informs how we move through this life. And until you face that shit, get some tools to deal with it, talk through it, you're never going to heal. So you can't change the voice in your head if you don't even know what voice is in your head. Okay. So that's where I started. I have been in therapy now for I want to I want to say about 4 years, but honestly, it's 3 years because I had to take some time off, honey. She started telling me things I wasn't ready to hear, honey. So I had to take a little break. Shout out to Dr. Tony. Um, But yeah, therapy is where it started for me, where I started to recognize who the voice was in my head. And then I realized that those people were speaking from their own experiences. So they were projecting their shit and their bullshit onto me. And the second I shed that, I was like, okay, now who do I want to hear in my head when I'm having a difficult moment? I want to hear Tremaine. I want to hear me, and I want to hear the voice of God. I don't want to be bogged down by what other people were saying. And so that's where it started for me. So therapy is where it started. No matter how you run away from it, your friends, your family, your boyfriend, your husband, your girlfriend, your wife, your significant other, they don't have the tools, pumpkin. There's a reason why people went to school for certain things to handle certain things. They can listen. And a lot of our significant others are so great at listening that we get comfortable dumping all our shit on them and weighing them down with it when we are supposed to be taking responsibility for ourselves and going to therapy. Okay? So go to therapy. The therapist is not your mom. The therapist is not your boyfriend. The therapist is a therapist that you need to call and get your shit together. So, therapy. The next thing that I exercised was I started paying attention to what I consumed. So, I want to say last year, I think it was last year, I created a different Instagram for myself. Don't try to find me, honey. Leave my Finsta alone in the name of Jesus. If you're not on it now, you ain't supposed to be there. Okay? But I created a little safe space for myself because my Legally Trim platform has taken on a life of its own. And I'm so grateful to God because that is my ministry. You know, I share different parts of myself that inspires other people, and I'm super proud of that. But sometimes it is too much. Sometimes I just want to post my sandwich or post my jerk chicken while I sit down on the beach without someone saying to me, well, why aren't you at work? Like I'm not a person too. Okay. So I got myself a different platform and I said to myself, who do I want to follow on this page? And I had never thought about that before. And when I thought about it, I went back to my Legally Trim page and said, I got to unfollow some stuff. Now, no shade to the shade room and baller alert and things like that. But I really feel like we take so much glory in negative things that happen to people. And even if you're not participating in the mess, you read the comments on Shade Women, you laugh, you like a comment here and there. You may not like or interact with it, but you say, you know what, there's some truth to that. And the more you consume things like that, that is who you become. So I started tailoring what I wanted to see on my social media. I started tailoring how often I go on my social media. Now, when I tell you that I tailored what I see, I built my For You page on TikTok brick by brick. All I do is laugh, honey. There's babies doing funny stuff. There's Harry Potter. My cousin Trifina knows because all we do is share videos back and forth all day long. And my friend Suyan, all we do is share stuff back and forth on TikTok. But it's pure joy over there for me, right? I don't see half the other stuff that's on social media. So you can create what you see. And I'm using social media as an example, but that is life, right? I told you before that we'll talk about some concepts that I've previously discussed on Trim Talks, like friendship boxes and what have you. So we'll get back to that. But not only your social media, but what are you consuming everywhere? What kind of TV do you watch? Are you watching reality television? If you like that stuff, no tea, no shade. It's funny sometimes. And Lenithia Leaks, the queen of reality television, will never be too much for me. So I get it, like, but is that all you're watching? What are you reading? Are you reading? If you're not a reader, you listening to an audiobook, what are you listening to? You know, I started to become intentional on what I was consuming. So instead of rereading Harry Potter for the 100 billionth time, because I like to dissociate from reality, and that's how I do it, because they are never bad, I said, okay, let me reread a Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie book. Let me read a Mel Robbins book. Let me read The Mountain Is You. And I realized that things were changing in how I was thinking and how I was, you know, responding to certain things just from what I was consuming. And then I was like, okay, well, what if we put this into our friendships and our relationships? What does that look like? And that's where I talked to you guys before about the reciprocity concept and where that came from. That was also part of this. Like, what am I allowing in my life right now? Am I overextending myself in my relationships where I don't feel valued? And I'm also going to be internalizing that if I'm not feeling valued and, like what I put into my relationships that I'm getting back. You know what I'm saying? So I thought about that. I made some changes with that. It became very lonely, honey. Ooh, girl, the amount of friends I have lost since I started this journey. But yeah, I started taking a closer, deeper look at that kind of thing. And then I started to journal last year because negative thoughts will come. But I started to realize, especially around July, August, and September, when I was at the lowest point that I have been in my entire life. And all the negative, after all that work that I had been doing to, be nice to myself and talk kindly to myself, I realized I had to make a decision and I was fighting myself with that decision. And the response I got from a lot of people in my life validated what they were trying to make me feel about myself, that I'm a shitty person. I'm a horrible person. I don't deserve anything good in this life. And I started to hear the whispers. They weren't screaming like they were when I was 14 and 15 and 16 and 21 and 25, but I could hear the voices again. And I said, I can't allow this. So what do I do? And I said, start writing the shit down, bro. When you feel the bad feelings, just start writing things down. And I have been consistently journaling since August of last year. I started the, oh Lord, I can't remember the name of the journal now, but I'm gonna post it on my Instagram so you guys could see it. I love this journal. There's a different prompt for every day of the year, and it be asking you stuff about yourself, honey, some self-awareness stuff like, oh, excuse me, what is your worst trait? I beg your pardon. I paid for this journal. Why are you asking me this? But journaling has been so helpful because instead of you keeping those feelings and talking to yourself and keeping the thoughts in your head, that becomes physical after a while, guys. Do you know that this shit starts to manifest physically in your body? I started to feel body aches because I'm internalizing what people are saying about me. But when I started journaling and putting that shit someplace else, that became also very helpful. That was life changing for me. Um, the most important thing, though, that helped me was prayer and sitting with God and sitting in the Word of God and just reminding myself that I am fearfully and wonderfully made and that all that God has brought me through in this life to make me this shiny, awesome creature that I am, because I am fucking awesome. All that I've gone through in this life to make me into the person that I am. Okay, God did not do all of that work for me to sit here talking about myself like I ain't shit. Absolutely not. Let your light so shine, honey. I'm going to go out here and be great because that is what I was created for. That is what the Lord validates for me every single day. And it started off as me just randomly opening the Bible to certain scripture. And the things that were being revealed to me was just stuff where the word of God was just pouring into me. Sometimes it was prayers. And I've read the entire book of Psalms in the last, I want to say 3 or 4 months, a psalm a day or two psalms a day, depending on how long it is or how I was feeling that day. And I love where I live because I get to sit and meditate and think about things every day and just be present. So that journaling kind of snowballed into devotions daily with God. I'm literally realizing that right now, that I literally have morning devotions every morning when I was the queen of inconsistency. Like I want to do the devotions, honey, but the second I wake up, I'm already thinking about a case that I got to go take care of at work. And so it never really happened. But um, yeah, I started practicing talking to God and writing stuff down. And then I started talking to myself. Self soothing is the weirdest shit ever, but it is so helpful. The next time you feel a panic attack coming on, an anxiety attack coming on, or just start feeling the dark cloud of depression come over you, I challenge you to put your hand on your chest, take a breath, and say, it's okay. I literally go, it's okay, Tremaine, it's okay. It's okay. I know that might sound stupid to somebody, and oh my gosh, she's being dramatic. But we all go through these moments and you don't know how to deal with them. You might end up lashing out at somebody or harming yourself. But have you tried this? If it's something you haven't tried, just give it a try next time. Take a breath or two, put your hand on your chest, tap if you need to, or rub your chest and say, it's okay. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine. I have been on the floor in my bedroom a few times saying this to myself. Like, it's gonna be okay. What is the worst that could happen, Tremaine? Does this make you a bad person? Did you do this out of malicious intent? And even if you did, were you having a bad moment? It's okay. It's okay. We all falter sometimes, and that's okay. Talk to yourself. Talk to yourself the way you talk to somebody you love when you want to make them feel better. Who should you be loving more than you love yourself, man? Talk to her. Talk to him. Nobody else has to hear you do it. I be talking to myself in my office building every day, honey, because I go outside and touch grass Every day at 12:30 around that time, I'm out of there. My staff knows, all 8 of them, she's not here, okay? She will be back. But she ain't here right now. When I go outside, if I need to talk to myself, like, okay, we're having a rough day. This happened today. This client's projecting their stress of the orange Voldemort and his latest policy, but that is project. This is not you. Okay? So we're going to take a deep breath and walk around the building a little bit, feel the breeze on our face, and we're going to go back and handle it. Talk to yourself. As crazy as it sounds, I promise you, at least it's worked for me. Try that shit. Try it. Right? And then the last thing I will say on this exercise and this lesson that I have learned this year is that you cannot change the voice in your head until you learn to give yourself grace. You are an incredible person. I don't know who it is that God is leading me to talk to through this stupid microphone right now, but you are an incredible person and you do everything in your life with good intention. You extend so much grace to everybody and you forgive people so many times. You can see the good in other people, but why is it so hard for you to see it in yourself? Why is it so hard for you to give yourself the grace that you extend to everybody else? Think on that. Give yourself grace, right? So let's recap. Got a little heavy there. So let's recap. How do you change the voice in your head? And who is the original voice in your head? The original voice is informed by trauma and however that manifested in your life. Like it might have manifested in perfectionism or depression, or you're angry and you lash out at people, whatever it was. The voice in your head is informed by those experiences and by the people that harmed you or the situations that harmed you in your life. To change that shit, go to therapy. Go to therapy. Go to therapy. Be more mindful of what you're consuming. Take account and inventory of those friendships and relationships around you. How are they serving you? Journal, if that helps. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it'll be exercise to get the aggression out, right? Whatever it is, find something to do to release the negative energy from you. Do not keep it inside. If you are religious, take it to God, man. Take it to God. When I tell you that God has saved me so many times in my life, and this year he did it again. This year meaning the last 12 months. Talk to God and take it to God. Practice talking to yourself kindly and give yourself grace. Okay? You can do it. I believe in you. I look forward to your comments and your DMs as you try this new technique. Let me know if it made sense to you. I'd really want to know. Okay? So thank you guys for coming to Trem Talk. I'll see you next time.